want to see me go home alone. I'm done waiting. I know you want to see me go home alone. I'm done waiting. And this hurts so bad I can't breathe on my own. Not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nub. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down.
Yo. We're back again. It is Thursday, November 10th. Year's almost over with. I'm going to try to make it through this show. Sciatic nerve has been kicking in, but, you know, we try to stay dedicated to the mission we have here at the No PC show. Unless you've been living under a rock, you do realize that Donald Trump is now the president-elect of the United States of America. And regardless of how we feel about it or how it happened, it is what it is. So we're not going to harp a lot and give Donald Trump a whole lot of play. I just wanted to say to all the brothers, and that's one of the reasons that's prompted to do this show, now that Donald Trump is in, and he's more about that stop and frisk and jail time. And if you watch the news today, you notice that the stock went up in the 2 biggest prison systems in the United States, and investments are going up all over the place based on the evil that men do. Very disgusting to sit there and have to watch Obama, who could have did more for black people, have to eat crow and sit up here and deal with this dude. Right before the show, I was just responding to one of my friends. He was like, yeah, I supported Donald Trump from the beginning. I said, no, you supported change from the beginning. Because to support Donald Trump, you have to support all of them. I don't let people off with I support half. No. You support the racism. You support the sexism. You accept everything. So, if you want to say you accept everything, then you accept everything. But most people were just looking for a change. Like I said, I would have voted for a crackhead over Donald Trump. I'm on the train earlier today. I'm talking to a friend, and I'm explaining the concept to him. I got a brand new Mercedes Benz. I got a kid here. Yeah, he's messed up a little bit, but he's got a driver's license, and he knows how to drive. And for the most part, he takes care of most of my business, but I know I got to stay on him and make him do right. Now I got another kid that's 14, dying to drive, never drove, can't even keep his room clean. Am I going to take the keys to my Mercedes Benz and put it into the hands of a 14-year-old who has no sense of responsibility? That's basically what the American people have done, and you can't sugarcoat it and change it and make it something different and sweet to me. Shit's always shit. If you put sugar on top of it or honey or whatever, it's still shit. And that's just where I'm at with it. So, Donald Trump supporter, Hillary supporters, I'm a black supporter. And that's why I do this show, the No PC show, because I don't have time for all the little political games, because I already know, regardless, the system's not designed for us. And that's what we're going to start off with. Today is called The Black Failure. Whose fault is it? And you can call it a failure, or you can call it a systematic construction, which I would have to say it is. Because from the beginning, since slavery was over, systematically they have fought to take away rights, opportunities, and it doesn't make a difference how much education you have or whatever. Okay, Obama slipped through, but now we're back to business as usual. Oh, they call them nationalists. They don't call them Klans members anymore. So the nationalists have spoken, and you niggas better get in line. Whether your failure is our fault or not, what will be our demands for these people? And that's our biggest problem. That's our biggest failure. We never have a list of demands for anybody that gets in office. We get them in office, but what do we ask for? Then we complain when the LGBT or other groups get what they want, because they withhold their votes, and they keep at it constantly. So we need people that are going to constantly be up in their face if this is one of the plans. The plan for us is very unclear. What I find is that we have a lot of conformists that are happy with the status quo, and why shake the boat? I've done everything that these people have asked me to do, and I feel very successful. So why won't you do the same thing? Why you got to be a rebellious Negro? Get with the program. You're rebellious. And it's all your fault that you're not listening to what these good old boys are telling you. That's why you're not successful. What's the definition of a successful black man? We don't know, because he's only a mirror image of the white man who has showed him so much. They just showed us something new. We can come together and take this power back. Let me share a clip with you here.
Don't you see the disproportionate figures of blacks in prison, unemployed, in poverty, stopped and searched by the police and so on, as expressions of racism? Or do you see it all as a consequence of the content of their character, to use Martin Luther King's phrase?
Well, I think, unfortunately, if you look at the context and where this came from, I think that Dr. King obviously preached personal responsibility and wanted people to take personal responsibility for their actions. There was a former senator who at the time worked for our Department of Labor, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, and he wrote a report in 1965 about the black family. In 1965, there were 23% of black births in the United States that were born out of wedlock. You come forward to 2013, that figure has jumped from 23% to 73% of black children born out of wedlock. What does that breed? It breeds the fact that you have more often than not, a woman, a single parent, heading a household. That mother oftentimes has to put her education on hold or drop her career to take care of that child, which leads to another cycle of dependency. And so I think one of the things that is lost in this discussion is the fact that people honestly have not looked at the breakdown of the black family and assuming responsibility for, if you are going to have a child and you are going to bring another individual in the world, there are consequences. And my last comment to that I would say, going back to Sue Hale's comment about something to the effect of a black masquerading for a white figure, that is exactly what Dr. King preached against. And again, of judging individuals based on the content of their character rather than the color of their skin, and to make a simplistic, baseless attack for holding forth to one's political or personal views only underscores really how far we have to go and how some folks need to be more enlightened in their perspective.
No, I can see.
Conformist talk. Just like the white folks, when they want to make a point, they bring up Martin Luther King. And then they give you an interpretation of what Martin Luther King felt and what his words meant. But they don't talk about how Martin Luther King felt toward the end. Disenfranchised, a little downbeaten, a little betrayed, because all those morals that they kick out that he stood for were all the same things that internally, I don't want to say he was beating himself down for, but he was realizing, I'm dealing with a different type of beast here. I thought I was dealing with somebody who wanted humanity, just like I wanted humanity. But then, and you have to go look it up yourself. I've done plenty of shows and showed you Martin Luther King saying these things, saying the way that we deal with white folks has to change. But you're conformists, like this man, and I don't know this man from a can of paint, and he very may well believe what he believes, and I can't knock people for what they believe. I believe what I believe. It's called a No PC show. You can go ahead and believe what you want to believe. Great. Sometimes we differ. I find that the conformists will often sound like the white man, and they will invoke these certain leaders to make their points, or what they perceive as points, because the conformist is basically saying, like I just said, this good white man is giving you an opportunity to live in his land, to have the same opportunities that he has. All you got to do is conform, forget this individuality, forget your brothers and sisters and everything else, and you can have a successful life. Now, I've heard some people say, well, that sounds racist. As far as I know, black people can't be racist. I mean, we don't have any power to control anything, so you can hate, you can have prejudice. And most of us don't have prejudice just to have prejudice. We have prejudice because of the way we've been treated. So the wolf is in no position to tell the chicken or the lamb how to behave in his presence when he's the one that's inflicting all the chaos. So it's not the black man's failure. It's the black man's inability to come together. we find every way to divide ourselves on all levels. Color, cash, where we live. And that's what we were taught. And that's one of the effects and layovers of slavery. And now it's on automatic. It's hard for us to get out of these situations. Where we're at now was orchestrated. I don't know how old most of you guys are, but I'm in my 50s. So that meant I saw a lot. And some of the things I saw were like the destruction of the black family unit, where there was a mother, a father, maybe a grandmother, all living in the same house, all trying to survive together. Everybody knows the story. The social programs came along and this man can't be here if you want this money. But also, society is saying to this man, well, you're not productive in society. You're not obeying our rules. And realize in the 60s and 70s, there were a lot of rebellious men because we were saying, hey, we want to have our own thing. We want to build our own and deal with our thing. We don't want to deal with your thing. Okay, then you got to go, brother. So let's get the brother out. When the brother's out, the control of the household falls down. Now you got a bunch of women trying to raise men, but all they can raise is boys with female characteristics. And when I say female characteristics, their behavior is more emotional rather than like James Evans. All the women loved James Evans, and he was a strong black man. Now everybody's more Don Lemon-like. So the family is now broken. The woman feels betrayed and left to fend for herself. So now she assumes the manly characteristics that she shouldn't have had to. But that's the position she's in now, that she's got to fend for the family. And then she sees some things that work, because if one gets a job and she's associating with the white women and things like that, oh, well, you can have this opportunity too. So the report just came out earlier this year. Black women are receiving more degrees than anyone, even white men. They saw the program that works for them. They embraced the program. And a lot of them said, bye, nigga. This is working good for me. So the call becomes, what do we do for ourselves? How are we going to change ourselves? Because it all falls back on us. And a lot of people don't get the understanding. We didn't get like this as men to be this horrible as men without it first happening to us as boys. I listen to a lot of Dr. Umar Johnson, and other people, Boyce Watkins, Dr. Joy, a lot of people that a lot of people probably are catching on to now. But he had a good dissertation on the problem with some of the black men. And like I say, this was all prompted. I was watching Oprah and Yana Fix My Life, and she's been doing this series called Healing, How House of Healing Fix a Black Man's Heart. And she started to show off with a lot of, I know society is beating you down, brother, but how are you going to respond to how society beats you down? We're emotional, but at the same time, we're trying to put up this front. We're macho and emotional at the same time. I'm still a man, regardless of what you are trying to put on me, society, regardless of what you're trying to put on me, woman. that becomes our motto. We may not talk. We may not cry, because these are our qualities that were assigned more so to females than males. I used to do a mentoring program at my church for young men 13 through 18. Apostolic Church of God, 63rd and Kenwood. And one day I said, let's just have a talk with these guys. So we said, forget all the material and all the stuff here. Let's just have an honest conversation, and then we'll get to what the problem is. And the problem was, my father's not around. I'm mad at my father. And since I'm mad at my father, I'm mad at my mother. Because in my eyes, she has something to do with my father not being here. I'm mad because I see my friends that may have a father, or their father at least comes around, and my father makes promises to me and never comes around. I told him one story. I said, when I was 18, my father, who really wasn't in my life, I knew him, I saw him, came to me and he said, I'm sorry, son. I haven't been a good father. I haven't been there for you. And I don't have an excuse. He didn't need an excuse, because once he did that, that sealed the connection back with us. And from that day on, I had a closer connection with my father. So I told those young men, leave the door open for your father so he can come back into your heart. This is the same thing with what's ailing us. A lot of us are hurt because of things that have happened to us in society, and we can't get up, and maybe we did mess up, and maybe we did go to jail. And when we came out, we felt less of a man because my woman is now making this money or doing this, and she's in a position that I can't ask her to step aside because I don't have anything to contribute to the situation. But that's society's design. I know a lot of brothers in jail that went to jail that made bad decisions. Some became alcoholics, drug addicts. But I was given this little information way back when I was younger. My father told me, don't ever be a follower. All these people you know aren't going to grow up with you. You really don't have friends. These are people you associate with. Half these people are going to wind up in the graveyard. Half of them are going to wind up on drugs in the crazy house. I'm 12 years old, and my father, he's high, but he's having this conversation with me. He's shooting drugs in front of me. He's giving me that real dose of reality. So I always had people around me that loved me enough to be real with me, not bullshit me. A lot of times we don't prepare our kids for the bullshit that they're going to have to deal with in society. And so they grow up in this world with certain expectations, and those expectations can't be met and aren't going to be met because the community is fractured, if you want to call it a community. According to Trump, we all living in hell, getting shot down, and all this other stuff. He's watched too many movies on TV. Let me share this clip with you from iPush magazine. They did an interview with Dr. Umar, but he kind of breaks it down. A lot of stuff I'm saying, you'll hear similarities in the way he expresses it.
To being black men, how can we raise them into being black men?
3 main messages that I would have for single black mothers. All parents, but especially the mothers, because y'all tend to be the predominant caretaker because of the war against black males. Number one, stop letting him off the hook for his lack of discipline. A lot of our boys are not being prepared for white racist American society by their mothers who love them so much that they forget to teach them accountability, responsibility, and the laws of consequence. America is waiting to swallow our sons up. And the hitch that they're going to use to destroy them is their lack of discipline. So it is the job of the mother to understand that although you must love and nurture him, true love is to teach him that there are no second chances in this world. Right. So from the time he's 2 and 3 years old, when he messes up, there should be a consequence. Teach him that for everything you do, there's a karmic response that follows. Spiritually, politically, economically, so forth and so on. Our mothers, to some extent, are contributing to the effeminization of black boys because they're not providing them with the accountability, the responsibility, the structure, and the discipline, which is to say that a lot of our mothers are raising their sons to be the exact type of man that she herself would never want to marry.
Ooh, can I raise my hand like my grandmother?
The opposite of your dream mate. You ask the mom, what type of man do you want? Now, why are none of those traits in your son? Which means that you're making him into the worst nightmare for someone else's daughter. And what is often not understood is that boys learn to be men by mom because daddy ain't there. It's not fair. It's not fair. Our sisters have to raise these sons on their own. But I think it's ironic, though, that when the young sisters complain about not having an adequate spouse, it was a female who nurtured her husband for her to be the failure that he is. So number one, raise them, stop loving them. Number two, teach them to respect divine African female energy. Too many black boys have a profound disrespect for the black mother. It has been codified in hip hop. It's been codified in every aspect of African culture, from the way black women's bodies are sexually objectified by black women themselves sometimes, you understand? But our boys need to understand that regardless of what that woman is, regardless of what she did or did not do with her life, you must respect the divine female essence within her. There is no disrespect for black women whatsoever. Mothers have to drill that into their sons' heads, because what I'm finding is most boys learn to disrespect women from their own mother. It's the mother who are teaching these young men, don't trust them hoes. Don't trust them skanks. You see, when the girl gets pregnant, oh, she trapped my son with that baby. But your son participated in the trapping. If it was a trap, he's not absolved of his responsibility. Why are you beating down on that sister instead of beating down on your son as well, or holding them both responsible? We all know the stories of how the mothers run to the son's defense even when he is wrong.
That's right.
So the one, make him be a man. Two, make him respect woman. And three, teach him that his destiny is in his own hands. That means he has to be emotionally self-controlled. Too many black males are going to jail and to the cemetery by not being able to control their emotions because mom exemplified emotional dysfunction herself. You see that? So the boy learns to behave like his mother, although he think he's acting like a man. So behind this hyper-masculine persona that is projected by our young men is a feminine energy that resonates behind that. You see, that's why the thug can kill so quickly. Where's your discipline at? You murdered him on emotion. You see that? You did the dope on emotion. Half of what our young men are doing, they're doing it on emotion, which is often aligned with the feminine principle. We need the emotion. We need the feminine principle. We got both, but he's a man, so his masculinity should dominate.
He's a man, so his masculinity should dominate. A lot of women don't like that. They say they don't like it, but they do like it because they all love James Evans. A lot of their fathers had the behavior, maybe not to the extreme of a James Evans, but they knew that their fathers were in control of the house. You shouldn't have to fight your woman to stand in the position of the head of the household. But a lot of times we find ourselves in that situation because, well, I go to work, I make money. My opinion is just as important as yours, and that's not what we're saying to our women. We're saying, sweetie, we can sit down and talk about it. But I think we should agree that two people can't drive the car. So while you're reading the map, can I drive? And unless the man's got a problem with his driving record, like he's spending the money, not bringing it home, the bills aren't paid, utilities are getting cut out, the kids are undisciplined, then, I don't care how it sounds, then he should be in the position of standing as the head of his household. Because he's doing all the necessary things, and hopefully he's fulfilling you on an emotional basis. He shouldn't have to argue with you. That's usually not a man's position. Most men hate to argue. And I think I've only seen one woman in my life that wasn't argumentative, but had more of a complimentary attitude. And if you have a complimentary attitude with your guy and come to him in a certain manner, he will be cordial, more respectful, and more open to what you're saying. It's just that simple in my head. So back to what Dr. Umar was saying. I believe that men should raise boys. Unfortunately, like you said, a lot of women are stuck in these situations because they made some bad choices with some men quite often. Usually the man is the one who installs the discipline in the house. He installs the respect in the house, while the kids are usually more flip at the mouth with moms. It usually doesn't happen with fathers. Our destiny is in our own hands. We just have to decide to make it that way. Sometimes we won't have the cohesiveness as black men. Usually the circle contains all types of brothers. Usually the circle has blue collar brothers, street brothers, corporate brothers. So if our circles usually contain all these brothers, why can't we as brothers come together and have dialogue and come to the agreement? We need some lawyers. We need some doctors. Good luck in that world, brother. We're going to be over here nation building. We're going to be over here keeping the line open so these young brothers aren't falling in the prison system, because corporate America has a tendency of trying to keep you busy and take you away from all those things in life, even though they, on the other side, promote everything through the corporation, and their neighborhoods and everything are supported through the corporation. Your neighborhood isn't, but theirs are. But for you to be a part of them, you have to agree to the way they're doing things. Same thing with America. America's not concerned with the survival of black people. The nationalists have spoken. Donald, I'm a cracker, Trump has won. I'm not going to respect this man. I don't care what people say. He's a bigot. He's sexist. He's an asshole. He's a racist. And he makes no apology for who he is. So that's the only respect he's going to get from me. I prefer somebody to say I'm a racist. Great. Now I know who you are. Don't try to hide in a voting booth like all these people did. CNN had a great thing on yesterday, and they're talking to people, good white folks, and they had all types of excuses why, when they took the poll, they said the political correct thing. Because they didn't want to offend anybody in their social circle and maybe lose some business or anything else. Just like all these people, this man's talking about people's wives, kids, mothers, just going off the top, craziness. And yet all these people get in line. So for me, they all full of shit. If you loving them like that, or if you say that's the political game you want to play, more power to you. Hey, say what you feel. Donald Trump is president. I'm gonna put that all on my little page every day. Hashtag, say what you feel. Donald Trump is president. But we can't worry about that, brothers. We got to start fixing what's wrong with us. Escaping the nets and the traps of society that are there to capture you, imprison you, destroy you. This election should really wake you up. It shouldn't scare you. It should wake you up for you to say, I got to get my shit together. Love, peace. So, we out of here.
Forever. Love, 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 love each other. We gotta live, live, live on forever. And love, 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 love.